Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jay Sit Down podcast. I am your host Jaden, and once again here with my boy Miles here as we're going to be recapping Super Bowl 60. Kind of went how we both expected it to go, but we're kind of going to get into the details, so to speak, of the game. So I appreciate Miles for coming on here on the call, and I'm talking some football with us again. So thanks, man.
Yes, sir. Always. You know who you can always call, man.
Right. So yeah, man, Super Bowl 60, Seahawks, Patriots. Actually, I told you, we talked about before, like neither of these teams were originally in my Super Bowl picks for this season. The whole season I originally had the Rams and the Bills in the Super Bowl, and I thought that was a reasonable pick. Um, Especially given how like with the Bills, this was kind of a prime way for them to make it in after, of course, Patrick Mahomes went down with an injury, and then the Ravens kind of just were all out of funk this year. The Bengals, the same situation. So, I was like, okay, well, yeah, maybe they didn't do it. Rams were close, but couldn't do it. So we end up having the Seahawks and the dark side defense and against the Patriots. So what were your thoughts, man?
I'll take it a step further. You mentioned them not being your Super Bowl picks throughout the year. I didn't even have either one of those teams in the playoffs, if I'm being honest, when the year started. I think they both kind of took me by surprise and just, made the most of their opportunities. But like you said, the other teams that had opportunities, the Bills, the Rams, and that was what I anticipated once the playoffs got started. I'm not going to say those are my original picks like you. I'm not going to false claim them for myself, but I would say that, I anticipated something differently because the door was open. The Eagles, the reigning defending champions, got knocked out in the first round. Of course, the Chiefs have ran the AFC for the last few years, don't even make the playoffs. And so I'm thinking that one of the, more perennial playoff teams would walk through those doors. But it was interesting to see, some new faces take advantage of the opportunity. I'm not mad at it. It's just, you know, you would expect people who have been there before to take advantage, and they didn't.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy that you said that you didn't even have the Seahawks or the Patriots in the playoffs this year. I mean, I assume that like that viewpoint of yours changed once as the season progressed. Um, but I'm saying I guess you meant you didn't originally have them when the season
Yeah,
started.
like yeah, preseason. Of course, I mean once they clinched the playoff spot, I couldn't help but concede that obviously they're in the playoffs. But yeah, like going into the year, neither one of those teams was on my radar to do anything. With the Patriots making it, like I anticipated the Bills winning the division. And then as far as the wild card race goes, I'm not expecting the Chiefs or the Ravens to not be there. And NFC, same sort of thing. I didn't anticipate them winning the division over the Rams or the 49ers, and I'm not anticipating the Lions dropping out. So, just headed into the season, they just outperformed the expectations I had for them in my mind.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, and then yeah, looking at those teams, I mean, Seattle just of course, they go and get Sam Darnold last year in the offseason. And he comes in here after having statistically a decent season in Minnesota, but we remember what happened in the playoffs when he was there.
Yep.
And he comes to, and I wasn't, I'll be honest, yeah, I wasn't, I mean, like I didn't really have Seattle doing much. I wasn't high on Sam too much going into the year, but I mean, he got in there and he did lead the league in turnovers, but he did well enough. And of course, the defense was phenomenal for Seattle all year. The top rushing defense in the NFL. They just played really well. Their secondary, man, Devin Witherspoon, Reek, Woolen, Julian Love. Like those they I love how Mike Macdonald has just constructed this team the past couple years, and like how he's got those guys, how they play fast and physical on defense. So that's kind of what I thought, man. And the game kind of went that way. Like I had a feeling that was going to play a role. I just thought it'd be more offensive firepower from Seattle.
Mhm.
It was kind of like they had some opportunities. We talked about this like the other day. Like they had some opportunities, and they missed a couple of them early on. Like
Mhm.
I told you that one play in particular, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Jackson Smith and Jibba got out there, and he would have walked in had you know, Sam been able to put that in there, but he was pressured as well. So, but yeah, that's how the game went for me. I thought it was just like the defense kind of was how I expected. Um, they play how I expect them to play for Seattle. So,
I would agree defensively, and I think we talked about this. I had different perspectives on expecting fireworks. Like I expected one or two maybe plays, but for the most part, I view Sam Darnold as a game manager, and I knew New England's defense was real. Not necessarily as good as Seattle's, but I think that Sam Darnold did exactly what I would want him to do in that situation, which is come in and not lose the game, right? Not have any turnovers, not make any unnecessary plays, and Kenneth Walker being the X factor was, really big for them. I've always been a big Kenneth Walker guy. He's one of the people I usually tend to lean on in fantasy under normal circumstances. So just seeing him flourish into winning the Super Bowl MVP, I think was really big. And I think that Seattle's offense, although it lacked some explosivity that it had throughout the course of the year, I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do because I think New England was so overwhelmed by the threat of explosive plays from JSN and Rashid Shaheed that it opened up, ample opportunity for Kenneth Walker. He made the most of it.
yeah, no, yeah, you're right. You're definitely right, and that's what they were. You could tell that's what they were worried about, and they were playing very sticky coverage there. And I would say like, and let me say this, like New England defensively played a decent game for the most part. I think Christian Gonzalez had some great plays. I think which I expected him to have just because of the player that he is. In particular, in coverage against JSN and Rashid Sheet as well. There was a play where, um, he made a good breakup on a ball to
Yeah,
Rashid, and he of course on JSN he had another play down in the red zone, if I remember but correctly. But yeah, so he had a good game. Just overall the Patriots, but it just later on Seattle made those. They couldn't stop Kenneth Walker, and Seattle was able to make those spot plays where they needed to, and that kind of just, and then of course the defense.
yeah.
But but yeah, 6 sacks. Had seven, but one of them was wiped away. But yeah, listen, man, I you know, um, it's just it just blew. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's like seeing Seattle win a Super Bowl. Like it's just I don't know. Um, I mean. It's just kind of weird to me because last time, of course, the we all everybody every football fan in
Yeah,
the world knows what happened there.
unfortunately.
So
Unfortunately.
I'm just happy for them and for Mike McDonald, dude. So you know, I mean, they're what 38 years old. I mean, he was this on his second year coaching the Seahawks,
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a
and
bright future. He's got a very bright future.
like, I mean, what? So I'm gonna ask you this, man. Like, when you watch his team play, when you watch Seattle, I mean, what? I mean, even with last year, I mean, and even and this year as well. Like, as the season progressed, like, what stands out the most to you about how Seattle plays on both sides of the football and how he coaches that team that, um, that just yeah, kind of stands out to you.
Just unity. And I say that as far as everybody in the locker room and a part of that franchise being on the same page from top to bottom. To me it seems like, whether you're the star or whether you're somebody who gets, a couple plays here and there, they all show up when they're supposed to, and there's not really too much of an ego that I see from anybody. Of course there's moments like I remember in the Rams game, um, Reek Woolen kind of had a play and there was some stuff on the sideline, but they get that in check very quickly. It's not a lingering thing. It's not a stirring of the pot. They usually tend to keep everything low. And it's almost one of those environments that's boring, but it's boring because they're focused on the winning. And I say that because, I know Demarcus Lawrence came from Dallas and this was his first year in Seattle. And he talked about that move, wanting to just go to a team that was focused on winning. And at the surface level, it's like you're going to Seattle to be on a team that's focused on winning. But when you actually go and you see them win a Super Bowl, it's like, okay, yeah, like Seattle didn't necessarily have the most noise going into the season, but that's because they don't care about the noise. Like they as a unit are focused on winning. Who cares about all the noise? We're gonna go to the practice facility. We're gonna make sure we had his game plan down to a T, and we're gonna go apply it every week. And that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right, and that's the great thing, man. Like, and teams like that, those are the teams that go and win. And I mean, you look at, I mean, now the Chiefs, a little bit different situation. They do have the noise, but that's only because, I mean, when you do what they have done the last 5 years or whatever, that's going to happen. But you can watch the Chiefs and tell that they're a team that they're also unified in the way they play, and they worry about what they have going on in the building and within the team. And that's just those type of teams that heck the Patriots when they were on their run, years back, like it's so those types of teams are the teams that win. And when you have a coach, man, who everybody like can gather around and run behind, like listen, it's nothing better. And
100%.
it's just that like you said, that unity. Man, people don't understand how important morale is, bro. They don't
Hmm.
get it. Like like you, bro, you play sports. I play sports. Like we notice like if you don't have good morale in that locker room on the team, and if you can't get behind your coach, and like it's not gonna it's not gonna work. Like you're not gonna really win. So
Definitely. And yeah, his ability to do that from, like you said, this is year two, his ability to do that from day one. Like just, everybody having that morale and belief in who they are. It's just not about being the flashiest or anything like that. They just there to win football games. And of course he can coach and he knows his X's and O's, but I think the layer of, that locker room just believing in him, I think that's the biggest difference.
yeah, me too. Yep. I agree. And heck, you have Sam Darnold as your quarterback. So, and it's like, I mean, that's, and that's not me knocking Sam here on this podcast. I mean, Sam listen, he's a Super Bowl champion now. And he's been through a bit. He's had his ups and downs, but when he got opportunity. He came in and he did, what he was supposed to do, and especially in particular on the biggest stage and most important stage, and as you mentioned, not turning football over, not really throwing the game away. And so that's what you ask of a guy like that. He's not going to run around and you know the flashy throws, the side on all that stuff. Like no, no, but he didn't lose the game for you. So you know,
Yep.
so that's interesting to see. So let me ask you this, man. Do you think that Seattle? Well, I'll get to New England in a second, but I've asked, like, do you think Seattle is this the beginning of another? Like I know we had the Legion of Boom defense for those years, and now like the dark side defense playing the way they're playing this year. Like, and is this another like beginning of a little, I won't say dynasty, but like stretch where like we will continue to see this team contend for a Super Bowl year in and year out.
I definitely think so. I don't know that, like you said, using the word dynasty is that comes with a different level of expectation, and also there's a certain level of, I guess, expectation on going to the Super Bowl in back-to-back years that the Legion of Boom had. So I don't know if they quite reached that, but as far as being in contention, definitely. Like the same way how we were talking about the Rams all year, and the Rams made it to the NFC Chip, even though they didn't necessarily win a Super Bowl. We knew the Rams were one of their best teams. I think that's how we'll kind of look at Seattle. I think that year in, year out, they'll be one of those best teams. Regardless of whether or not they get another one, I think their defense is like that's a legit system thing, very young, at a lot of places. So I think they're gonna come back and be, just as strong. And I think offensively, outside of Cooper Cup, I don't really look at an age issue being a thing for that offense either. So they don't have a reason to necessarily, fall off of a cliff. The only reason I'm hesitant to, use the word dynasty just in general is because the NFC has so much depth to it. Like they're gonna have to year to year overcome the Rams as long as Matthew Stafford's playing, overcome the Bears, the Packers if we can get healthy, which is a whole different conversation. You know, the Eagles if they can figure some things out with coaching and offensive struggles, the 49ers when they get like it's so much going on. So I think that the hesitancy isn't any type of discredit to them. It's just that the NFC every year is going to be a gauntlet, and we're going to see who comes out on top. But they'll 100% be in the mix.
Yeah, 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 definitely will be in the mix. They're too talented not to be, too well coached not to be.
Yep.
Like a game to me, look, man, the game's won in the trenches, man, and that's like what, like their both their offensive defensive lines have played well this year. Especially defense line, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, as you mentioned earlier, and how he made an impact when he came over this year from Dallas. And so. Derek Hall, like all these, and Chenna and Wosu, like I go on. They got they got talent across the board. Again, in the secondary as well. Like I love their secondary and how they play so cohesive together. And their linebackers. Ernest Jones had a great year too. Shout him out. So yeah, all right. So now switching to New England. Um, do we think this is like, is this a I want to say I don't want to ask the same question. I mean, obviously they didn't win, but could I? Okay, I'll frame it this way: like, I- is this a team that's going to be in the mix for the AFC for years to come, or do you think this was like a one kind of not one time thing, but like eh, they can make it, but is it going to be consistent every year?
I I think they have the potential for it to be consistent. I'm not as confident as I am in Seattle, but what I would say is it's super encouraging because of how young they are. Like Drake May was in his second year as a starter, and for any franchise that takes a quarterback that high, obviously you want him to come in and kind of turn the franchise around, right? And in your second year, you take a team to the Super Bowl. Okay, cool. You underperformed in the Super Bowl. I acknowledge that. But also, like, this is your second year. I don't see why year three, year four, year five, year six, he doesn't get better and better and better. And that team as a whole is very youthful. So I think that they have a lot of room to grow. And I think that's the difference is Seattle showed me like we're ready right now versus New England has to grow into it, but I don't see why they can't grow into it. I think there was a little bit of, they had some favorable matchups down the stretch, but nonetheless they made it. And again, I'm looking at it as okay, as they enter, the primes of their career, like from start to finish. I think all the big names on that team, the only one I'm really looking at that's like, okay, he's probably on the downward trajectory of Stephon Diggs. Everybody else still got good years left in them as far as going up potentially. So I don't see why they can't be in those conversations.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. And I think the Patriots could definitely, yeah, they could definitely be consistent with that. I mean, the defense is great. We know that. Offensively, like, I mean, yeah, Drake May. Yeah, it's only his second year, man. Second year, taking his team to Super Bowl in his second year. That's great. I mean, that's almost close to like doing it in a quarterback doing it in their rookie year, which I don't. If I'm remembering correctly, it's not been done. I don't know if that's right or not. Don't quote me on that. But still, that's still impressive in his second year. And he had a good season, was in the MVP running. Some people think he should have won it. The offensive line was abysmal for New England this whole year. I think that's something that we have to address as well because it wasn't good,
Yes,
especially in the playoffs. So that's something to factor in. If they can get that right, then So yeah, receiver spot. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I want somebody to kind of separate themselves. I think Keyshawn Booty can do that maybe. I don't. He hasn't shown me enough, but he may get there. I just and Stephon Diggs is kind of getting older, so I don't know about that. But I think if they can address some holes, that they can definitely be a team be consistent. So
definitely. And like I said, just as young as they are, I don't see why those holes have to get fixed. I mean, I don't see why those holes can't get fixed. Like again, we're in year two of Drake May, and everybody on that team is pretty youthful. So I think moving forward, like you said, we're sitting here talking about the holes. I think they know those holes too, and I think that's the next thing for New England. So okay, let's fix some of these holes, and as we move forward, make the most of this opportunity.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So that's kind of how I see it, man. So now I'm going to ask you to kind of, I guess, close us out here is what are your way too early Super Bowl picks for next season? I just want to know. Just
I
turn your
don't
brain
want.
off, man. Just turn your brain off. Just
No, no,
turn it
no.
off.
I don't. I'm just saying I don't want to, but I'm gonna say the Chiefs. Um, Still kind of the mentality that I haven't really seen them lose in the playoffs in a long time before the Super Bowl. And NFC, the Lions really let me down. Um, I'll say Rams and Chiefs. Rams and Chiefs.
Okay. Okay, so no back-to-back appearances for Seattle.
No.
Okay. Okay. All right, yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll give mine. I will second you on that with the Rams. Um, because I do believe they can make it back. It's hard to go to the Super Bowl back-to-back years. It's just really hard unless you just.
Yes.
I mean, yes, the Chiefs have done it, but it's like not those type of teams just don't, grow on trees. Um, and Seattle, we just talked about how great they are, all that, but I don't know if they do that. Um, so yeah, Rams, and then AFC wise, man. You said the Chiefs. I won't go. I won't go with Kansas City, but I think I will go. Hey man, see, I want to say Buffalo again, but I don't.
That's how I
I
felt about Detroit. Let me
like
down.
I don't know, man. Like, hmm. I mean, I might have to say the Bills because it's like I can't like I'm not gonna say Baltimore. They lost their head coach. You like, and the Bengals just you know are a mess, and it's just like outside of that, I just don't Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna have to go with Buffalo again. So I can't. I just like I don't know. I just to me it's hard. I don't know if like the Chiefs are gonna be able to come back all the way to that point after the year that they had this year, especially with Mahomes with his injury. Now, granted, if anybody can do it, it'd be him. But that injury and then like just some of the issues that they had throughout the year that kind of plagued them. So that's I guess that'll be my pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. To play devil's advocate, I would say that not just for the Chiefs, but with the Ravens, getting rid of their coach, the Bills did too. And I understand Joe Brady was in the system, but it'll be different seeing him as a head coach. You know how firsthand with Raheem Morris how sometimes coordinators don't always translate to coaches. And
Yep.
two, I would just put this out there, even as a pushback against my own pick. I don't see why Denver can't be that team, considering that Bo Nix got hurt. I think if Bo Nix didn't get hurt, they're probably in the Super Bowl this year. So they are definitely, if I'm taking Kansas City and the history out of the equation, Denver's definitely my second pick.
Hmm. That's solid. Then Denver was in the AFC Championship, and but Bo Nix was hurt as you mentioned, and that definitely played a role for them. But that defense was, I mean, really good throughout the whole year. I mean, they kind of slacked a little towards the latter end of the year, but still were good. And I don't expect them to get any worse. Um, so okay, that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
think if Bo Nix isn't injured, they would have represented the AFC this year, personally.
okay. Okay, yeah, that's a solid pick. Well, yeah, man, I wanted to ask you that question, and stuff. So, and we got to do it way too early, for next year. But it was like I said, kudos to Seattle, and congrats to them. And now we're in off season, man. So, now it's um as fans, it's just like now we're at the point where okay, now see how we can make our team better or make it worse.
Right.
So and to see how that goes. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on and talking Miles with us as always. We have a great time having you on the show. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
yep. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and everything. And, follow us on the socials and at Jason Down Pod. And yeah, we'll see you next time.